Hello, everyone. This is Roy Cornwall. I'm doing this one on Saturday, March the 2nd of 2024 at 12:10 in the afternoon. Uh, if I don't look well, it's because I'm not feeling well today. But I was yesterday. I was down doing the laundry, and a man approached me. He said, "I've seen your web channel." And a big smile came to my face because not too many people have seen my web channel, but so he says to me he wanted to know a couple of questions, you know, and I said, sure, fire off, you know. So he says, what can you tell us more about Roy's stories? So at this point, I would like you to access Roy's stories. Uh, and mm, it's a bunch of stories. It's a story about a Bigfoot. It's a story about being taken by aliens. And the one that he was interested in, he wanted to know about all the Bigfoot and all that stuff. But the question that he led off with was, um, what did you leave out of Roy's stories? So in Roy's stories, there's a segment there where I was taken out of my bed and by aliens. Took me under the arm, stood me up, and walked me right through about three walls and out onto the front porch because I was only a little boy, maybe 6 years old, and uh, they asked me, "Do you want to fly?" And I said, "What, like Superman?" Because the old 1960 Superman movie was on, and I was a little boy, and I liked that. So when he said fly, I didn't say like a jet pilot. I said, "What, like Superman?" He says, "Yeah." So they took me, stood me up, walked me through out to the front porch, and put me down on the front porch. Now, I'm facing this way, and these aliens are behind me on a 45 degree, and I know there's two of them, right? So they said, just jump off. So I jumped off this 3 foot high top porch. I didn't fall. I wasn't out of balance or anything. Uh, they said, go ahead. So I flew like Superman out and around the intersection because it was on a four corner intersection and back to our front porch. They reached out to try and grab me, and I said, no, if I let them grab me, my flying days are over. So I jumped off, and I wanted to do the same route again. I started going around, but when I got to the exact opposite corner of where our house is, there was a house with very large blue spruce trees there. And I remember going in behind there, those trees, and saying to myself, um, if I go back the way I just came, that leads to where they are, the aliens. And if I go this way, which I've already been once, that leads back to the aliens. So at that point, I felt myself going up. I thought it was me doing it, but it wasn't. I was behind the blue spruce trees. These are as big as a house, these trees. They're big. And I remember grabbing onto one of the branches, and I was going up, and I was stripping the branch from its pine needles, right? And they took me up and took me into their craft. Now I don't remember anything after that. They put me back in my bedroom, and the next morning, I'm not sure what day of the week it was, but my dad wasn't around, so I'm assuming it was a weekday. I came down the hall, and I wasn't feeling well for all this. And I sat on the couch, and Mom was in the kitchen doing dinner. And she said to me, she said, "What's the matter? You're not feeling well?" And I said, "No, I'm not." So she stopped. This is the part that's not in the story. So she stopped what she was doing in the kitchen and walked into the living room. She put her one hand on my head, and the other hand she grabbed my hand, which was my left hand. And she could see I wasn't feeling well, right? But then she said, "What's on your hand? Your hand is all sticky." Because up to that, I told her this whole thing prior to this, and I don't think she believed me. But she grabbed my hand, the sap from the tree was on my sticky, and she said, "What's that on your hand?" I said, "That's a gum from the two trees across the road." I said, and her eyes opened up. That validated. She knew I wasn't telling a lie then. Um, she said, "Go in and wash your hands." I had some supper with her, and she never took her eyes off of me. This is my mom usually went on about her chores in the house, and I got it. But that day, she kept her eyes on me. Um, so yeah, I had all this gum on my hand from the tree across the road, and she looked at me like I've never seen her. I never lied to my parents ever. For two reasons, because I'm an honest man, but I'd also get a backhand. So, um, the next question he asked me, he says, "Is there any more with that episode?" I said, "Well, there's one thing, but I don't want to say it because when somebody says they see me flying around the intersection, I want proof, and the proof would be that they saw this other thing happening. So I don't want to say that right now." But the next thing he asked, well, then he said, "Tell us more about the Bigfoot." Uh, to bring you up to speed, it's all in the Roy stories. But I was a young boy. I was like 5 years old. Dad just built this cottage. In other words, that summer, this cottage went up. I think we put it in the Bigfoot's area. So he came and checked us out a couple of nights in a row. Scared the bejesus right out of my Uncle Ozzy. They scared him pretty good, this Bigfoot. But they're asking me, what did I not say in that story, right? So when I looked out the window and I saw him standing there, um, I didn't make a noise. I thought it was a raccoon. I had never seen a raccoon. I didn't know. Dad said raccoons don't hurt you, right? So I opened the window. There was no lights behind me and no lights outside. There was a fire there, and the moonlight was full. It was a full moon. I could see pretty good outside, better outside than I could inside. Now, after that event, for about a week after, my friend Colin Zyward had the cottage right behind us, and it was only about maybe 400 feet away, but it was down a dirt road. And uh, one day I'm walking, call him, right? And actually, my sister was with me. Evelyn was with me, and we were running from our cottage to his, and I was racing with Evelyn, and I was winning. I was out in front, and all of a sudden, something entered into my head and said, "Stop!" So I put my left arm out like this, like a fence, and Evelyn ran into it. She got mad at me because it hurt her a bit. And I showed her on the ground. I said, "Look on the ground." There was like a 6 foot snake, about 4 inches round, go crossing the road right in front of us. We would have, both of us probably would have stepped right on that snake. Now, um, I had no idea the snake was there. I was told it was there, and I think it was this Bigfoot that, mind to mind, I think he must have been right watching somewhere close, and he told me, "Stop! There's a snake there." He looked out for me because I never tried to do harm to him or scared or scream or anything. At this point, I'm his friend, right? At this point, I'm his friend. So later on that summer, we used to have to walk down to the place where we swam. It was right on Georgian Bay there. It was right on the point, Midland Point, right there. There used to be a place where we could swim, and we go down there, right? But during the daytime to go swimming, but at nighttime we'd all go down there and have a fire on the beach, right? So this was one of those times, and we're coming back, right, to the cottage from the beach, and it is black. I mean, I went like this in front of my hand. I couldn't see my hand at all. The trees overhung the road. It was nighttime, and there was no moon. It was black. right? So uh, I think my brother and my sister, I think they were out in front of me, about mm, 50 feet, not far. I could hear them, right? And I got a sense that I wasn't alone. So I stopped. Now my sister and my brother kept walking, but I stopped. I'm trying to hear. You know, you're walking on the stones. You hear crunch, 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 right? So I stopped and I'm listening, and every fiber of my being, my hearing, I couldn't see, but my hearing, my senses, my smell, I could smell something pretty awful. I'd never smelled anything like that before. I'd never smelled death. I never smelled. I was only 5 or 6 years old at the time. I'm 70 now. I'm trying to recall all this. And so I'm stopped. I'm listening, and I hear my brother and my sister walking away from me. Right, but I hear this other footsteps coming up from the rear, from behind me. I turn around. I couldn't see. At this point, I am freaked out. I'm not screaming. I'm not crying. But all my senses are on alert here. So this thing, I could hear it. It's coming closer. It's come. It got. I still couldn't see it. It got within 10 feet of me, and it was big because the steps were long. It wasn't a human. I know this. And when he got, I ran. That's the first time ever, only time in my life I ran from fear. But you'd be surprised how fast you can run from fear. I ran right up to my brother and my sister, and I grabbed their arms and I got between them. I never told them about this episode. Never told them about it. Most of the stuff that happened to me, I kept it for myself, and I didn't talk to anybody. So uh, I didn't see the Bigfoot that time, but I heard him, smelled him, and I sensed him. He was right there. I think that Bigfoot looked out for me right from the time I saw him through the window and didn't scream. For about 2 or 3 years after that, he sought me out. I think he just wanted to be friends. He knew this little boy wasn't going to harm him, but I got scared that time. I really did, because now I know. You see that it's not a raccoon, right? So I got scared this time. And so the next question he asked me was, uh, he wanted to know. There's a segment in there about me being taken. And I said to him, I said, well, what are you talking about? Because, there's like 3 or 4 segments in there about me being taken, right? He says, the time you were at the cottage by yourself and you jumped off the porch and they took you. That time. Uh, uh, so I said to him, I said, you know, all this gets pretty personal, and I'm not sure I want to tell uh, what they did to me, you know. But um, so all right, I'm gonna tell it. You all, most people think I'm nuts, anyways. So um, the uh, it was almost dark. But it wasn't dark yet. But all of a sudden, everything lit up blue and started to sparkle like the sparkles at Halloween. Not Halloween, Firecracker Day. The little thing you light and it sparkles. They sort of come off that in an explosion. That's what this looked like. A whole bunch of different explosions, right? So I uh, I remember saying to myself through all this, well, at least I got my guitar in the house. Because if I left that at the road where the guitar was, somebody would steal it. Now, um, I'm on board the ship, right? I'm lying in what it looks like 2 inch, 3 inches of water. It looks like it was warm. It wasn't cold water. It was warm. And most of the time, I'm unable to speak. Most of the time, I don't understand what they're saying. you know, because I've been taken multiple times. But this one time I was flaming mad because I was alert enough and awake enough to understand that they're taking me, and I don't have a say in this. So this one is I'd like to say he's walking, but I don't see him walking. It's more like he's like this, right? And he goes by me. So I did my best. I just screamed it out as loud as I could. What are you doing here, right? And he told me the story about how Earth is a, a bus stop and a gas station. Check out the video I've got on Roy's stories. I think you'll enjoy it. Um, they told me they told me uh, you're okay. No harm's gonna come to you. But I was terrified because when you're not in control of your own events, you don't know what's gonna happen. Right? You're at these people's women. They're not even people. Um, I asked him. I said, why, after I asked him, why are you here? And he told me it was a gas station and a bus stop. Then I said to him, well, why? I said, why are you taking me? Right? And the answer they gave me was confusing because I'm still a young man. At that time, I think I was about 17 years old, right? And like, why me? That's basically what I'm asking these people. And they said because you're in pristine condition. That was the word. Oh, that was the word that they used. Pristine. I was perfect without any flaws, and this is why they took me. That prompted my next question was, well, why are you taking other people? Are they pristine too? But they didn't answer that, right? So, um, these people they did some things to me that they said wasn't going to harm me, but it did. Uh, I won't tell you what they did, but I'm going to tell you the after results. You can see I got this big belly here, right? My belly button is over here. I've had to have an operation where they opened me from here to here and remove 13 inches of large colon from me. Not only that, but I had to have a, a an operation on my butt because I had 3 internal hemorrhoids and they bled profusely. I almost bled to death. Right now, uh, for people that said I was perfect, and now I'm not. I know coming back, I've always had a problem with my guts, always since then. So I know they did something there. I could feel them in there, and this thing moving around, right? And then after that, I have this bowel problem, right? So I'm not a doctor. I don't know. They put something up there and checked everything out, and but I had no say in any of this. I'm actually ashamed that all this has happened to me, and I'm very reluctant to say more than what I've said. But um, he was very interested about me being taken, right? And I told him a story that it wasn't in my segments. And what I'll just say this story now. I was living in Caledon, Ontario. This person owned a 10-acre plot, and I made a carpenter's box. You know what a carpenter's box looks like for saws and chisels and stuff. I made one of these, but I put legs on it, 2-foot legs, so it raised it up. And where you put the saws and stuff in, I put a board across there, so it made it like a desk. I put a battery in there. I had CB system. I had uh, motion detectors there around me, and I would go and sit out in the middle of a field, nobody around, you can't see nothing, and I would listen to uh, Art Bell, right, all night long. I'd be there till about 4 or 5 in the morning. Then I'd get tired and I'd go back, right. Well, this one time, I'm sitting in the chair listening to Art Bell, right, and I had to go pee, right. So I took the headphones off and I stood up and walked about 6, 7 feet away from the little desk thing that I made there because I didn't want to smell pee. And I'm peeing. And just as I'm finished peeing, I zip up and just uh, now. This is not a full moon, but it's 3/4 moon that day, right? And I've been sitting out in the dark now for a long time. My eyes have adjusted, right? And I hear something right about how far away is that? About 150 to 200 feet away. I'm in a field where there's no trees, but this tree line skirts where I am like a field, right? And about 6 feet into that tree stand, I can see. I couldn't see it at first. I heard it. Trees moving, step, boom, 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 like a step, right? I said to myself, well, that's got to be a bear or a deer or something, right? So I stopped and I listened again. He's walking on 2 feet, this thing. So I've made it a practice of turning my long range sensors on full and leaving them there. So when this happened, I started walking straight towards it. But I got about 15 feet and this thing came out of the flipping bush right in front of me. It looked like, how can I explain this? Not a reptilian, but I've never seen an alien on the computer or anything that, so I can't, it's hard for me to tell you. But this thing looked to be about 7 feet tall, tall and lanky. And he came out, I think he wanted to meet me, but I was too scared, right? I started walking backwards to, to get away from this thing. And when I did that, he turned to the right. He saw I was not going to be good with him. I turned to the right and he ran. And when he ran, he was taking steps that were 8 feet apart. That's how big this thing was. Well, he was headed away from me, so I felt really good about that. But I told myself if anything like this ever happened, I wouldn't be afraid. But I was afraid. But I didn't freak out and run or I had a I should show you. I got it. You know, it's a samurai sword. It's a 3/4 length one, not the full one. It's 3/4 length. I had that in my back on my back, right? So I knew that I would be able to defend myself to a degree. But still, this thing, the sight, this is the only time that I've really seen an alien. Just one time. And I really hesitate to tell people this because they're going to think I'm nuts. But uh, this thing looked like uh, tall, skinny, looked to be about maybe 175 pounds, right? Um, how can I explain this? I put this out of my mind for a lot of years, so I haven't done much thinking about this. But it looked a bit like, it looked a bit like a cross between a crab and something else. And it looked like he had regular hands, not human hands, but 4 fingers and a thumb. This is what it looked like. Uh, I couldn't tell much more than that because he was waving his arms and stuff. But when I told him that, uh, he, uh, he didn't disbelieve me. But I think he thought about how much of a sheltered life he'd lived, right? I didn't. I didn't do that anymore with the carpenter's box and sitting in fields. I didn't do it anymore after that. Now, he says, are there any other stories? Oh boy. He's probing me pretty good, this guy, right? And I said, I do have other stories, but you're going to have to wait until I do my next segment. I don't want to give everything away right away. So he thanked me. He says, I'm going to go back and access your channel, and I'm going to rewatch it all and implement what I've said to him on this. Um, one more thing. When the aliens took me in my car, me and my car, right? I was doing 65 at this time, miles an hour, right? And they threw me back on my bed, right? They threw me from about 8 feet tall. It was from the rafters on down onto the bed. You know, if they had been a little bit more smarter, I wouldn't have caught on because I was getting beamed. And this beaming process is like somebody turns a 100-watt bulb in the room. The light goes everywhere, right? Well, the light goes this beaming goes everywhere, and everything underneath that light is uh, beamed. And what the effects of the beaming is that you want to return to what you were doing and forget about this. Um, it makes, if they turn this thing up enough, it makes you feel sick, I think, because I felt sick through this whole thing. So yeah, when you're, if you could have a camera in your hand, and you're seeing something, but you're being beamed, and you'll never get the thought of taking a picture or going get a camera or nothing, because this beaming is something that every highly advanced race that goes to another world has. They want you to go back to what you were doing and forget about them. They usually beam you after they've taken you and done things to you. So that's an update, and I want to thank everybody for tuning into my channel. If now I've been told by people that if I don't ask people to like and subscribe, they're going to shut me down. Now they've already tried taking hits from me, so I think they're in the process of trying to shut me down because I don't ask for likes and subscribe. But I'm asking now. I'm going to start now. I want you to like and subscribe, uh, and I'll come up with some other things very shortly. I'm a little bit sick right now, but yeah. It's a crazy world when you think, just when you think you've got it all figured out, you know. There's nothing you haven't seen or done, and guess again. So, everyone stay strong, be kind, be healthy, think about your health. Don't smoke, don't drink, and may God have blessings on everyone. Bye bye, everyone. Blessings.